Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Jason. So we are about to begin. Khalid, Dr. Khalid, could you please begin the session?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Khalid Shamim. I am a research scholar at Aligarh Muslim University. I welcome you all in today's first session of third day of structure equation modeling and artificial neural network management research, ATAL FTP. Today's first session is on measurement invariance analysis, and our resource person for this session is Dr. Ajay Kumar Chauhan. Dr. Ajay Kumar Chauhan is a founder and chief consultant in Research Shiksha and serving as a director FPM at Universal Business School. Dr. Chauhan is known to be a charismatic and inspirational resource person of various faculty development programs on data analysis using diverse range of software such as R, SPSS, Stata, and many more. Dr. Chauhan is having PhD and MBA in the area of finance from Kumaon University, Nainital. He has more than 20 years of experience in academics and industry. And not only this, he has conducted more than 500 workshop training programs all over India on data science. He also served as a data analysis consultant for various research projects in industry and academia. He has authored 3 books titled Financial Analysis, Business Research Analytics, and Financial Risk Management. So on behalf of you and all, on behalf of Management SMBS Jamia Hamdard in collaboration with AICTE Atal, I hand over the stage to Dr. Chauhan, wishing you all a very thought-provoking session. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Ajay sir, could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think now I am unmuted.
Yes, sir, you are not audible.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. The topic is measurement invariance analysis, and I will explain the concept with the help of PLS software. So let me start the PPT. I hope the PPT is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So the question is, uh, we know that the behavior of different people are different in with respect to shopping behavior, with respect to performance behavior, with respect to technology adoption behavior. Like I'm giving you one example. When we want to study the theory of planned behavior, the theory of planned behavior say that the uh, perceived behavioral norms, social influence, and attitude play a very important role in influencing the purchase intention of the customer. And customer purchase intention will lead to the purchase behavior. Similarly, in UTAT theory, Unified Theory of Technology Acceptance, so similar kind of theories defining the technology acceptance behavior of the people, right? And we say that the purchasing behavior or the technology acceptance behavior of different people are different. So we say that the purchase behavior of males are different, females are different, young people are different, middle aged people are different, old people are different. So we try to explain this kind of relationship. And let me show you one more thing. If you see let's say UT model, and in this graph, you can see this graph. So we are explaining the impact of performance expectancy, effort expectancy, social influence on behavioral intention, and we are claiming that the theory is claiming that all these relationships are different for different gender, different age group, different experiments, and different voluntary to use. So this is called the difference in the behavior, right? And gender, age, experience, or this, they are the observed or visible reason of difference. So these are the visible reason of difference. So we are saying that the difference exists in terms of gender, difference exists in terms of age, experience, and so on. But do you think is it the enough reason for explaining the difference of the behavior? Right. Actually, I'm giving you one example. If we explain the theory of planned behavior and we say that these are the possible differences in the behavior, but it is observed that there are many people who are price conscious and there are many people who are quality conscious, right? Irrespective of their gender, age, experience, and all. But the problem is that this kind of difference is not expressed. This kind of difference is not given in the theory. And even you are not asking the people whether you are price conscious and quality conscious. And even there may be many other differences. Some people, some customers go for discounts even if they belong to high income group, and they like similarly. Some people are brand loyal customers. Some people are not brand loyal customers. So the problem is that there is a lot of difference in the behavior of the people. So when you see the people or customers or the respondent, they are like this picture, right? And the blue, you can, if you see this picture, the blue color is different, yellow is different, red is there, white is there. So, and if I ask you, can you differentiate the different colors that who they are? If I'm asking you, so who are these blue colors people? Who are these yellow color people? Who are these red color people? You are not able to define because it is called unobserved differences. This is called unobserved differences between the people, between the customers. So the story starts from the concept of unobserved heterogeneity. Unobserved heterogeneity. The unobserved heterogeneity is a term that describes the existence of unobserved differences between the respondent that are associated with the variable of interest. Right. Now the problem is that in research we collect the data from the sample, examine the hypothesis, and we are applying the hypothesis on the population. And we assume that the population is homogeneous or the sample is homogeneous. Actually, this is one of the biggest problem in the assumption in theory testing. So we are assuming that the respondents are homogeneous, means they are exactly same. But the problem is that if you see the behavior, if you actually see the behavior of the people, the behavior is different. Even I am telling you, in this patch there are many male and female, there are many aged people, there are many right belong to high income, low income, and the learning process for different people are different. if I am saying that the learning process of males are different from the learning process of female, this is known as observed heterogeneity. This is known as visible differences. Visible differences. If I say that the learning process of young people are different from the old people, so this difference is expected, and this difference is known as observed heterogeneity. But there are many other people who are looking the lectures in different ways. So that differences is unobserved. So some of the observed are explained. You can explain these differences, but some of the differences are not explained. So the problem is the unobserved differences, unobserved heterogeneity. This happens when there are significant difference in the model relationship between group of data, and the sources of these differences cannot be traced back to any observable characteristics such as gender, income, and age or income. So if the differences in the behavior of the people cannot be observed, this is called unobserved differences. Now, what is the problem? If I ask you how these unobserved heterogeneity causes a problem in the theory testing, the answer number one: when we conducted a research, we started with the assumption testing, and then we go for the theory testing or hypothesis testing. In assumption testing, normally we go for 5 steps. Number one is the normality. Number two is the reliability analysis. Number three, convergent validity. Number four, discriminant validity. And number five is the biasness. So these are the assumptions, right? If all the assumptions are fulfilled, then you can go for the next part, the next relationship. So the question is here, the question is all these things, all these assumptions are same for different groups? Are same for different groups? If yes, this is called invariance. And if all these assumptions are different for different set of people, right? So it means there is a problem of invariance. So invariance do not exist. And if invariance do not exist, it means your data is incomplete, your sample size is less. So first of all, you have to capture, or you have to fulfill this assumption. Otherwise, all the theories are, all the result of hypothesis testing are misleading. So this is the problem actually. So that's why now the question is that how these observed behavior and unobserved behavior is capturing by the software. The problem is that. So when you apply the PLSIM on the full data set, you assume it is a homogeneous, but it is unrealistic. So the psychology claim that the individuals are different, companies are different, countries are different, states are different, and you cannot have the same behavior among all the people, all the groups. So you have to track the observed heterogeneity and unobserved heterogeneity with the help of different methods. Now let me start also the demonstration in PLS. Yeah, this is PLS software. I'm giving you one example. Let's start the example from this, or let me check any other. Yeah. In this model, I am analyzing the behavior of the employees towards the perceived work quality. My dependent variable is that perceived work quality. So some say that the four reasons are having the impact of perceived work quality. Financial incentive may influence the perceived work quality. If you have more financial incentive, you can perceive it very quality. Career growth maybe have an impact on perceived work quality like this. Now we have if I show you the data, in this data set we are having, okay, so in this case we are not having any gender variable. Okay, so in variance test we cannot apply on this. Yeah, so here we are having the gender and age group. So I want to check the invariance test on gender and age group. So this is the model I'm taking. Okay. In this case, the complete model I'm making, so we believe that this construct is known as management policy. So we want to check how the organization performance is related to the different construct. The second construct is the selection criteria. This is known as selection criteria. And there is a third construct which is called training quality. And I have one more, employee improvement. So this is the model I want to test. And in the PLS, you know that this is the employee improvement. Okay, and this is training quality. Now I'm saying that these three constructs are having impact on training quality, employee improvement, and employee improvement is causing the organization performance. So before going to the model, I want to check few things, like if I go to the calculate, but consistent PLS algorithm, okay. Now, if I check the reliability, if with the help of Cronbach alpha, composite reliability and average variance extracted, there is no problem. Everything is green. You can see that. If I go for discrete validity, I think discrete validity is fulfilled. Yeah. We can check with the HTMT ratio, all green, no problem. And similarly, we can go for collinearity diagnostics. Some problem is seen, but all these values are not very high. So fine, not a problem. And outer loadings, we have to check again. These outer loadings are already green. So I claim that the reliability validity is okay. So this is my answer, that reliability and validity are okay. So, but if somebody asks me whether all the results are same for male and female, right? Then I have to check it. So I am going to tell you how to examine this concept. So I'm opening a Excel file and I'm showing you first of all, how to examine the invariance test for, let me open a Excel file. And how to report the invariance test also. a new Excel file. Let's open it. And I'm going to examine you how to check the invariance test for gender. So I want to prove that all the assumptions for male and female are same. And then I will show you how to check it for unexplained heterogeneity. Okay, I think now it is visible. So first of my assumption is Cronbach alpha. Second, my assumption is, let me take one more table here. This is reliability analysis, and this is convergent validity. And convergent validity is measured by the composite reliability and average variance extracted. So these are the important measures of convergent validity, and then we will check this preeminent validity, which is measured by two things: Forner-Larker criteria, and second is HT-MT ratio. Okay, so I have to report these values for different groups. My first group is the overall data. Then I want to repeat for male, repeat for female, then young group, middle, and old. So this is one category, the complete data set. This is another category, and this is third category. So whenever you want to show the invariance test, so you have to report like this. And let us take this color. Okay. Now the overall picture is like this, and you have to take the variables also. Okay. Now if I take the Excel format, and paste here, so I can take the Cronbach alpha of all, or I just say here, okay. So I have not seen any problem in the Cronbach alpha. Why? Because all green I found. In fact, you have to report for each variable actually. Report for each variable. And we can also insert the variables here. But I'm not taking that because that takes a lot of time. So I'm just telling you that how to run it. So Cronbach alpha of all the groups are okay. The composite liability is okay. Average variance is okay. So I can say done, satisfied, and then we will go for so this is also okay. Now if I go for the discriminant validity, So according to the Fornell-Larker criteria, this value is greater than all other values. So that is completely satisfied. So I say that is perfectly okay. And HTMT ratio, if I click on the HTMT ratio, all green, less than 0.9. So, okay. Now I want to compare these results for male and female, right? So how to do it? So first of all, I go to the data set, I go to the generate groups, and the first group is gender. The first group is gender, and gender is available here. So I have to find out the gender. Okay. And now data groups. If you go to the data groups, so you have the two genders here. So I go to edit. My first gender is male, and my second gender is gender 2. You can see it is gender 2. It is female. So I have defined these groups like that. Now go to the model, go to the calculate, go to the consistent PLS, and here you have to select the data groups. So I go for all individual groups in one go. Start calculation. Okay, so you can see all the result here. So now I'm going to compare the result for different groups. Number 1, female, composite liability. So Cronbach alpha, composite liability, average variance extracted for female is okay. Means satisfied. Which group is this? Female. So you can copy all these values and paste here. So top these three I'm satisfied, but these two is still to be tested. So I go for the discrete validity. So 913 greater than all, okay. 910 greater than all other, yes. This is yeah, satisfied. So this is satisfied, and this is also satisfied. This is a borderline case, so we can ignore it. So this is okay and okay. So now I have no problem in females. So then we have to go for male. So now go for male, and you can see that no problem in Cronbach alpha, composite liability, average variance extracted. No problem is in discrete validity. No problem in HTMT ratio. So this is also done. So it means invariance. Okay. Now my first conclusion is, I am writing first conclusion. Male and female are invariant with respect to Cronbach alpha, and then composite liability, AVE, and discriminant validity. So this is our conclusion, that there is no difference between male and female with respect to the convergent validity, reliability, convergent validity, and discrete validity. So this is done. Similarly, I have to check for young, middle, and old. And then you can go for young. First, we have to check for this. Clear. Discrete validity is clear and clear. Discrete validity is also clear. Fornell-Larker HTMT is almost done. This is a borderline case, can be ignored. So my conclusion is that for young, all conditions are satisfied. all conditions are satisfied. Then I go to middle-aged, and so let me see all. So done. It is also seen that this condition is also satisfied for this young and middle. Similarly, finally, I want to check for the old. No problem. No problem. So the result is also same for old. Okay. So my second conclusion is, so I can just take this, and point number 2, the age group, yani young, middle aged, and old respondents are found invariant with respect to the reliability, convergent analysis, and discriminant analysis. So this is called invariance with respect to measurement model. Invariance with respect to measurement model. Now I am going to check the invariance test for different parameters. Like let me take some other insert. Okay, now I want to check for the path coefficients. So whether the path coefficients of all the groups are same or not. Yeah. So path coefficient is simply measured by beta, the path coefficient. Now, how can we do it? Just go to the model once again and go for MGA, and so let's compare age first. Okay, and you can see that there is all red. All red means there is no difference between. You can see the parametric test also. You can see MGA also. No difference found. So you can write simple conclusion. The no significant difference is found among the respondents of different age groups with respect to the path coefficient. So we can say as per the path coefficient, no difference is found between the different age group people. So similarly, you have to find out with the gender also. So I can go to the gender moderation. This is the model. Go to the calculate and MG analysis. Now I'm going to the male. I'm comparing female with male. That's it. Start calculation. Okay, so because all red values I have seen, so it means path coefficient for all the male employees and the female employees are same for all the 4 relationships. So my conclusion is again the same for male and female. So I can write here age groups and gender with respect to path coefficient. So this is the results. So similarly, we can also go for the R square and other measures. So this is simply known as invariance test for observed heterogeneity or observed heterogeneous groups. So we believe that male and female are different from each other. The young, middle, old are different from each other. So this is called invariance test in case of the observed heterogeneity. Now the problem is that we have to look for unobserved heterogeneity also. This is gender and age group. Okay. And both comes in the observed homogeneous groups or heterogeneous groups. So we say that these groups are heterogeneous and this is observed because it is visible. So we can say this difference is visible. Now we are doing it for the another group. So let me copy it and paste here. Now I'm going for doing the invariance test for unobserved groups. For unobserved heterogeneous segments. Heterogeneous segment. So I call it the unobserved heterogeneous groups. So now I want to check this. So let me take this copy. The number of predefined segment for which segment will be performed. So here we are assuming 2, 3, 4, 5. Maximum iterations 5,000. That is perfect. Stop criteria. Okay, and repeat rather than okay, no problem. Let's take 10. The 10 is the ideal number of repetitions. So first of all, I will go for the 2. Start calculation. Now software is identifying the possibility of 2 segments. Okay, so 2 segments are come and available, not a problem. And what I require here, R square. If you see, identify whether the invariance is there, unobserved invariance is there in the model or not. So that I need to check. So I go for the model and go for consistent PLS. Okay, first of all, I have to create this segmentation first. So create data group. My segments are 2 segments. So 2 segments, I don't know, and the segmentation is Fimic segments. And okay. So you can see that there are 2 segments in the data set, and let's rename it. This is my segmentation 1. Okay, and this is my segment 2. So I am renaming them segment 2. Okay, so now I can check the invariance test between these 2 segments. So I am going calculate consistent PLS, consistent PLS. I go for the data groups, comparing segment 1 and segment 2. Calculate. So here you can compare for the complete segment 1, segment 2. Let's see segment number 1. So in segment number 1, the condition of Cronbach alpha composite reliability average variance exceed is the same, satisfied. For segment 2, satisfied. Okay, for segment 1, discrete variability is not a problem. Okay, but HTMT ratio is showing that there is a problem in segment 1. Yeah. So not satisfied. Actually, this is more than one. That is a problem. This is more than one. So correlation cannot be more than one. It means there is an exceptional correlation in segment number one. Let's see the segment number two. So HTMT ratio is not a problem, and Fortner-Lercher criteria is not a problem. Yeah, this is also not a problem. So discrete validity is different for segmentation 1 and segmentation 2. So our condition is not fulfilled. So we can say that this is okay. This is okay. Composite liability is also okay. Average variance is also okay. But this is not satisfied. And this is okay, and this is okay. So here the invariance test fails in terms of discriminant. If this condition exists, then take care of set. There is one segment criteria of discriminant validity. So Wilson's and you are not able to the results in the research paper. Why? Because the problem of invariance test exists. So this is only a 2-segment case. So now we can go for the 3-segment case, and similarly we can check for the path coefficient also. In path coefficients, we can go to the model and go to the MGA. So here I am comparing the segment 1 with segment 2. Calculate. Okay. So we have to go for the parametric test, and this parametric test is telling you that the path coefficient of all the groups are not equal. So condition is not satisfied. So my conclusion is that the path coefficient, with respect to the path coefficient, significant difference found, or we should write here significant difference found. So this is the conclusion that we can take from the results, that with respect to the path coefficient, both the 2 segments are different. And one thing more, because this portion is basically the portion of measurement model.
Sir, actually, if possible, if this data would be available with the participant, then they will try from their end, because they have the PLS software. But the results, the command of the result will only come when they will practice, and they are missing that. So if possible, because in the next sessions also, so if possible, then please share it to mail us or WhatsApp us, then we will share with them. So it will be
Okay,
better.
so you want me to conduct a hands-on?
You are already doing that, sir.
Yeah.
Just they are not able to do the same.
No, that I will share. That is not a problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But I would like to share after the session, because I think first of all they notice all the commands, and once I finish it, I will share the data set. That is not a problem.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So in the first part, we are examining the measurement model variance, invariance actually. Invariance, and here these two are the basically structural invariance. So this case is known as the structural invariance. So measurement model invariance is a compulsory portion, because this should not exist. If a measurement model invariance exists in the data set, it means your conclusions are misleading. But in case of structural variance, you can take the advantage of using the different segments for capturing the moderation effect of the segments. So this will add value to the paper. So you can say that there is an unobserved heterogeneity in the paper, in the data set. The data set is divided into two categories, two segments, segment 1, segment 2, and we found that the measurement invariance exist, but structural invariance don't exist. And now you have to conclude the difference in the segments with respect to some theoretical justification. Okay, now this is only for two segments. Even it is also possible to make more than two segments in the unobserved heterogeneity. So I'm telling you one more thing. So suppose I go for the two model. Here I am deleting this. Okay, two segments I already make. This is PLS, MGA. Now I'm going to three segment case. So Fimix segment 3, and I'm going to start calculation. Software will take 1 minute in this because if I increase the number of segments, the time taken also increases. But software is very fast today. So repetition, 8 repetition also good. Okay. Now I have to go for the fit indices, and I have to check the fit indices of the different groups. This is the case of two segments, and this is the case of three segments. And this I will remove because I already have this case. So this is a three segment case. This is a two segment case, and we have to find out that how many optimum segments we can make here. So for that, I have to compare for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, how many segments we can take? So I am using the a formula, the number of possible segments to check unobserved heterogeneity equal to. Okay, so actually we use this formula. The formula is the sample size divided by minimum sample size required. Minimum n required. So this is the formula of calculating the samples, the unobserved heterogeneity segments, and the sample size here is 300, and minimum required sample size is the 10 times of the largest sample, that is 25. So 300 divided by 25 is equal to 300 divided by 25. Sorry, 25 mean 550. 50 is 6. So I can go for 6 segment maximum. So how I am calculating this 6, I am telling you. If you see the model, the largest number of items in any construct is 5. 5 multiplied by 10 is 50. 50 is the minimum sample size required, and the total sample size is 300. So 300 divided by 50 equal to 6. So similarly, I go for the next 4. Then I will complete, let me complete 4, 5, 6 case. Then we have to find out the optimal sample size for analyzing the unobserved heterogeneity invariance. So I have to click on fit indices, Excel format. So this is a 4 segment case. And similarly, I will complete 5 and 6 also. Five case start calculation. So as we increase the number of sample size, the process is now slow. So the software will go for 10 repetitions. Yeah, quite good. Now I go for the fit indices, and segment sizes are 34%, 19%, 19%, 18%, 7%. Actually, if the segmentation is less than 10%, then we call these segment as the niche segments. So sometimes these niche segments are very, very important for identifying the invariance. And let me click on the fit indices. Okay, so this is for 5 segments, and I'm going for one more last segment, the 6th segment, because the maximum possibility is to compare 6th segment here. So I got all the segments, and now let me compare all the segments. So how to analyze this? So this is a problem. Actually, the AIC criteria is the max limit. Okay, first of all, I have to find out one thing. This is the 6 segment case, and here I have to find out the minimum value. So I apply formula minimum of all these values, because the minimum value represents the best value. So like for example, in this case, this is the minimum value. I put it this 792 is the minimum value. So I put it this 833 is the minimum value. Okay, 903 minimum value. This is the minimum value. 932. This is the 932 minimum value. 812 the minimum value. 1275 is the minimum value. Okay, so in this case, this is the minimum value. And entropy, we have to find out where this entropy is more than 0.5. So in all the cases, the entropy is more than 0.5. So all cases are satisfied. And the highest value of entropy is found to be in these 2 cases. The highest value is this 715 and 715. Okay. Now the question is that how many segments we can take for the invariance test. Now some of the criteria I'm telling you. The AIC is the upper limit, because the AIC is actually the upper limit, means it is overestimated case, and MDLS means it is underestimated case. This is the lower limit. This is the lower limit, and between 6, it means we cannot take 6, we cannot take 2, So any segment between these, or actually I have to do for one segment also. That mistake I did. So we have also calculate for one segment. So what is the possible values for one segment? Then only we can find out the optimum value. So let's go for one also, and it will come in 1 minute. Okay, if I all the values, let me paste here. So I have to take only these values. For one segment case, these value will come. Now I have to apply the formula for this also. So in one segment case, 751 is good. This is fine. 836 is fine. 903 is fine. 932 is fine. 812 is fine. 1275 is fine. Minus 553 is this. So this is the only change comes in the results. Okay. So the software is saying that you can take any value between two segment. This is MDL5 and the AIC6. Between 2 and 6, you can take any value. So we have three choices between 2 and 6. That is 3, 4, 5. And I think the 5 is found to be the suggested one. Okay, I'm telling you a source of this information. There is a paper um, written by this is a paper. The paper is written by Hare and Ringel. So this paper is highly cited paper for this concept. Now, if I'm showing you the criteria which I am telling you, yeah. So now you can see that the AIC is having a very weak information and very strong tendency to overestimate the number of segments. Similarly, the MDL is having weak performance, so it is having very strong tendency to underestimate. So what we can do, we can take any value between this and so if I can go for BIC also, I can go for this consistent Akaike information criteria also. They are having good performance. So AIC4, BIC, CSIC. So in these segments, I can take any one value. So here I am taking the AIC4. AIC4 is suggesting this. BIC is suggesting 6, and consistent AIC is suggesting 5. So between 5, so I am selecting 5 because AIC is giving you the maximum side. So let me go for the 5 segments. So finally, this is my credit. This is my suggestion that between AIC and MDL, we can go for any value which is suggested by the other criteria. So I can see here CAC, consistent AIC, which is one of the best criteria to select the number of segments to check the invariance. And so I go for 5. Now I just go to the model, calculate, and I go for the 5 segments. And we will save these segments and copy in the data set, and then we will do all the invariance test for 5 segments. So let me check first the results. Okay, so I go for the segment assignment, so segment membership. In this, from here, you can take the segment membership. And first, let me compare the path coefficient. For segment 1, these are the path coefficient. For segment 2, the path coefficient. Segment 3. So path coefficient seems to be different. R square 9683 13 99, they are found to be different. The 88 880 so significant difference we found. So we can say that segment are not invariant with respect to the path coefficient. And total effect you can also check for different segments. So they definitely are different. Now I am going to take the segment assignments. Discrete segment assignment, I save this and copy in the segments. So now this is my segment 5 segments. Save these values, then delete it and take the data once again. Okay, go to the model. This is my model and I am deleting all. Okay, so first of all, I have to name all these segments. So click on the data set, generate data group. This is called 5 segment case. And you can select the I have all the name is the number segment 5 and this is segment 2 3 some mistake I did. So segment so this is edit. This is segment 5. This is segment and segment 4. Only I have the segment 5. Segment 5. So we are having the 5 segment to compare. Now go to the model and for the measurement invariance model, you can go for this and go for the data groups, compare all the segments. And now you can start checking for segment number 1. Constructability exists. Segment 2, no problem. Segment 3 is I think so there is a problem in this segment. So there is a problem in this segment and segment 4 no problem. Segment 5 okay. So there are 2 segments where I have problem. Segment 3 and 5 I miss naming में कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई है. So there are 2 segments, segment number 3 and segment number 5, who are not satisfying the conditions for convergent and discrete validity. So it means there is an unobserved measurement model invariance problem exists between the segments. So actually this problem should not exist, because if this problem exists, it means there exists an unobserved heterogeneity in the data set, and which is giving you the misleading conclusions. So that's why we cannot go with the hypothesis testing. And similarly, you can go for the discrete validity and any other options. So let me go for HTMT ratio because it will give me the result fast. There exists a problem of discriminant validity in segment number 1. In case of segment discriminant in segment number 3, problem. Number 4, problem. In segment number 5, there is a problem. So now we know that there is a problem of the segments with respect to measurement model invariance. Similarly, we can go for the MGA analysis. So which gives you the whether the problem exists in the path coefficient or not, and I know that the problem exists because all you can see many green values. Go to next and in this the groups are different. So there is a lot of invariance means the path coefficient and we have hetero for the measurement model is different, the structural model is different, so we are having a problem in case of invariance. So quite advanced stage modeling, and but ideally your data should not have any kind of invariance, whether it is a especially for measurement invariance. For measurement invariance, the data this problem should not exist between the observed groups and the unobserved groups. So I think I have covered each and everything in the invariance test, and anything if you want to cover, I will cover. So इससे ज़्यादा invariance test में कुछ होता नहीं है. I have explained the unobserved heterogeneity for invariance test. I have discussed the observed invariance test, and I have covered the measurement invariance test, path coefficient invariance test, the structural model invariance test. So इससे ज़्यादा तो invariance test में कुछ होता ही नहीं है. So invariance test is done. Because we are having a time, I have two options. You can ask me questions or I can demonstrate once again. So as you like, I will go.
Participants, please ask question as far as requested.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Sir, thank you for your explanations. I have a little confusion. It is like you talk about invariance analysis and unobserved heterogeneity and also mixed segmentation. Now, like, are they all under invariance analysis, or heterogeneity is totally different from segmentation or invariance, I mean?
Basically, you look the unobserved heterogeneity difference from the invariance, right? Your point is this.
The difference in invariance.
Invariance, na? Invariance.
Invariance. Thank you, sir. One more question, if you please.
No. I'm not getting your question. Please.
Yes, sir.
Sir is confirming your question. What exactly the question is? Can you type
so
it, Saleh?
it is just
if
mixing
possible?
of understanding it. Like, unobserved heterogeneity, we divided it into segments, right? And we try to find it.
Yeah, actually, first of all, we have to understand. So, what is the meaning of invariance? Invariance means whatever groups you have in the data set. There are two type of groups in the data set. One is the observed groups like male, female, young, middle, old, high income, low income. So these are known as observed groups. And similarly, we are having unobserved groups. So these unobserved groups are known as unobserved heterogeneity, unobserved heterogeneous groups. So the research say that you have to check the invariance in both cases. Now, what is the invariance? Invariance is actually whether the assumptions are different for different groups, whether the path coefficient is different for different groups, whether the structural model is different for different groups, right? So we have to check different kind of invariance. In all these invariance cases, the measurement model should be similar for all the groups. It is the basic assumption that we have to fulfill. Now, if you see, most of the people don't check for the unobserved groups, so they say only that the male and female are same, and age wise they are same. So actually this is the incomplete information of the invariance. So that's why in recent development of the invariance in unobserved group also, because if there is so unobserved groups are known as clusters. So these, if unobserved clusters are there in the data set, it means whatever conclusion you are drawing cannot be applicable on the population. There is a problem. So this is the concept of the two type of invariance. One is the observed group invariance and unobserved group invariance.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I could
I hope
not
you got your point.
relate. Yes, sir. Actually, I could not relate the unobserved, like how it is, but thank you so much for this explanation. Now, sir, if I found that there is some difference, does that mean I have an obstacle in my data? Does that mean my data are not optimum to the objective? If there is a difference, I mean.
Actually, sir, basically we collect the data from a sample, not from the population, but we are concluding for the population always. So we analyze the sample, but we draw the conclusion for the population. The problem is that we assume our sample is homogeneous, right? And
True.
that after that we generalize the results for the population. But the problem is that if your sample is not homogeneous, then if your sample is not homogeneous, then it means whatever conclusion you are making for the population is wrong. So that's why the invariance test is one of the case when you have to prove that my at least assumptions are fulfilled by all the groups.
Sir, but what is my duty as a researcher in that case?
Your as a duty is that your sample size should be collected in such a way that the at least measurement invariance is do not exist, problem do not exist, measurement invariance problem do not exist.
Okay, sir. Thank you. One last question. Sir, in reporting, now when I finished all these things, the steps that you have explained, and I need to report that in thesis, where exactly I should report it? Because we have measurement, we have structure, and this, where exactly I should, like, in which part?
And this is the part of the assumption testing, not the hypothesis testing, because after once all the assumptions are qualified, cleared, then we can go only for the hypothesis testing.
So it happens before hypothesis testing.
Before hypothesis testing. And I'm telling you one more thing, that suppose your required sample size is 400, so you can go for 500 or 600, and if you found that there is a niche group in the data set which is not satisfying all the assumptions, so you can remove that, or you can treat that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
डॉक्टर चौहान,
Yes, sir.
आपने बोला कि ऑब्जर्वेशन टेस्ट है ये, ना कि हाइपोथेसिस टेस्ट है. जब हम ये पहले मान के चल रहे हैं कि होमोजेनियस है, देन वी प्रूव बाय अप्लाइंग दैट PLS टेस्ट, इनवेरियंस टेस्ट, that sample is not homogeneous, it's a heterogeneous. So it means we are taking a hypothesis and then we are proving it that sample is not homogeneous, it's a heterogeneous. Then what is the difference between assumption and the hypothesis?
ओके, मैं आपको समझाता हूँ सर। देखिए, नॉर्मली हम क्या करते हैं कि हम सैंपल से, जो सैंपल पे जो रिजल्ट आता है,
जी,
हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि वो पॉपुलेशन पे भी सेम लागू होगा। सो इसको हम स्टैटिस्टिकल इन्फ्रेंस, जनरलाइजेशन, पैरामीट्रिक, ये सब कहते हैं।
राइट,
लेकिन प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है कि अगर हमारा सैंपल में प्रॉब्लम है, अगर हमारे सैंपल में प्रॉब्लम है, प्रॉब्लम कई तरह से हो सकती है कि आपके पास डेटा गलत आ गया, आपके पास सैंपल सिलेक्शन गलत हो गया, तो ये सारी प्रॉब्लम होंगी। जैसे पहली प्रॉब्लम जो होती है वो नॉर्मलिटी की होती है कि अगर आपका डेटा ही नॉर्मल नहीं है तो जनरलाइजेशन हो नहीं सकता। तो आपको पहले ये दिखाना पड़ेगा कि मेरा जो वेरिएबल्स हैं वो नॉर्मली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड है। फिर आपको दिखाना पड़ेगा कि रिलायबिलिटी भी है, वैलिडिटी भी है, डिस्टेंट वैलिडिटी भी है, बायसनेस भी है। ठीक है, उसके बाद आपको दिखाना पड़ेगा। एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ, जैसे एक डेटा, एक प्रोजेक्ट में हम कर रहे थे कि चेंज मैनेजमेंट, 3 तरह के चेंज होते कि अनफ्रीजिंग चेंज, ड्यूरिंग द चेंज एंड आफ्टर द चेंज। अब मैंने देखा कि कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं कि जो चेंज होने से पहले बड़े रेजिस्टेंट होते हैं कि यार नहीं करेंगे चेंज, नहीं होंगे चेंज, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए हम चेंज होंगे नहीं। लेकिन जब देखते हैं कि मैनेजमेंट बड़ी सीरियस है तो वो अपने गिरगिट की तरह से अपना रंग चेंज कर लेते हैं और कहते हैं सर आप जो बोलो हम वो कर देंगे। तो एक्चुअली क्या है कि ये बहुत ही नीश टाइप के लोग होते हैं। ठीक है, तो हम क्या करते हैं कि अपने डेटा में से कुछ खास तरह के लोग जो होते हैं, नीश सेगमेंट हम उनको बोलते हैं। सो बिकॉज ऑल बिहेवियर ऑफ डिफरेंट पीपल आर डिफरेंट, so you can divide the sample into different segments and can improve your conclusions, improve your information, and you can say that there are different type of employees, but इन सबके लिए एक कंडीशन तो सेटिस्फाई होनी चाहिए कि मेजरमेंट मॉडल सबके लिए सेम होना चाहिए। वो रिक्वायरमेंट है, क्योंकि अगर आपकी एजम्पशन ही फुलफिल नहीं हुई तो आपका कंक्लूजन गलत है।
राइट सर, थैंक यू। आपकी बार आपने जो बताया वो ज्यादा डिटेल में बताया, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Participants, please ask the questions if you have any doubt. I think, sir, yeah, they all are, just seeing you and feeling great to listen from. Yeah, if you think that something more could be added, you can, as we will conclude the session.
Okay, so actually, because the topic which is given to me is only half hour topic. So आपने जो मुझे टॉपिक दिया वो सिर्फ आधे घंटे का है, मैं तो 1.5 घंटे उसको खींच गया।
Sir, in like when you divided the sample into segments, what is the difference between that and multi-group analysis, which we do in moderation?
Okay, actually in multi-group moderation, we are comparing the path coefficient of the different groups, whether they are different or not. Right? Actually, मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ। जैसे जब हम खाना खाते हैं तो हमारा वेट बढ़ता है, जितना जितना ज्यादा कैलोरी लेते हैं उतना ज्यादा वेट बढ़ता है। अब मेरा सवाल ये है,
Actually, sir.
मैं ये मान के चलता हूँ कि कैलोरी कंज्यूम करने से वेट बढ़ता है।
Sir, I speak only English. I don't know what you are saying, sir.
Okay. So I'm saying that if you consume more calories, your weight will increase. I hope you understand that this relationship. In this case, increase in weight is the dependent variable and calorie consumption is the independent variable. Now my question is that, is the impact of calorie consumption and increase in weight is same for old, middle and young people?
Not necessarily.
No, not actually not, because metabolism is different for different groups, and the amount of exercise they are doing is different for different groups. So this is called moderation effect. The impact is different for different groups because of the different reasons. So this is called moderation, and moderation, I'm telling you, is meaningful. Even if you are doing for the unobserved segments, it is also meaningful. But the problem is that the assumption testing, right? The measurement model is an assumption. So assumption should be same for all the groups. So that is a differentiation between the structural invariance and the measurement invariance.
Sir, thank you. Sir, also in this invariance analysis, if I have, for example, 4 categorical variables, can I pick, is it my own choice to choose which variable I should choose for segmentation?
Normally, segmentation, there are 3 types of segmentation, I'm telling you. So one is called segmentation on the basis of the variables. Second, segmentation on the variable on the respondents. Then now the third type of segmentation we are doing here is on the basis of the relationship. So can we make the segment on the basis of the relationship? Because here we are doing the segment on the basis of the model, right? In clustering analysis, where we applied the K-mean clustering and hierarchical clustering, the objective is to combine the customers on the basis of their responses, right? So that is a different kind of clustering. In factor analysis, we club the variables and to make the factors. So that is called a different kind of clustering. In model testing, we are doing different kind of clustering. So here we want to check whether the model is similar for different groups or not. So this clustering, the segmentation methods, like there are 2 segment methods in the PLS. One is POS and second is FIMEX. So these segmentation methods divide the data into different segments on the basis of the model, right? On the model relationship. So they may be different. That is not a problem. Difference in the model, difference on the basis of the path analysis, path coefficient, they may be different. That is a good thing. But measurement model wise, they should not be different. This is the assumption.
Okay, sir. Sir, in variables, for example, if I have my assumption is about companies and my variables, let's say establishment or size of company, number of employees in this company, I have like 5 variables. And if I pick these all 5, I use them in variance analysis, and I found 2, for example, are not similar. Can I pick up only 3 that are like good and fulfilling the assumption and ignore that 2?
No, you can't ignore. Actually, you have to report it. You have to report it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
There
Thank
are
you,
many
sir.
papers which are discussing these phenomena. Actually, the problem in is the country like India is that most of the people are not aware about all these things. This is one of the problem I found. But in other countries, if you go for a category paper, A star category paper, so they are mentioning all these things. So they are very, very sensitive to the data, and they like to discuss on each and every aspect. So, but we are far behind in case of research.
Sir, I am from an Arab area and we are even more behind than India. So it is, you are not behind. That is what I'm saying.
Actually, there are 4 countries which are very good, doing very good in research. One is US, and actually China is leading very fast. China, Australia. So these countries are very, very ahead than us. Then, especially Canada, US, Australia, China. So these are the 4 countries I found that who are doing very, very good research. And we exist in 6th, 7th position. So basically, I'm talking about the management research, but still we are fine. And Africa and Europe is they are also not very good in research.
Sir, this is not just in management, it is also same condition in social sciences.
Okay, yeah, because whenever we do the country analysis in the bibliometric, so we found that always US comes number one, then China come number 2, then Australia number 3, India number 5 or 6, so like that.
Sir, we are lacking in social science research. Though we have very good data and analyst and all these things, even though we are lacking in research. And maybe because of politics or because of employment or all these things, A lot of things are applicable over there.
Yeah, that's true.
Some more questions related to the topic. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Actually, we will meet again with Ajay sir in the afternoon session. That session will be, wide because of the expertise he have. It looks very easy to do these testing, but actually when you will open your PLS and you will start doing that, maybe that video which we are actually making, that will help out. So thanks a lot for your.
Sir, I want to take 5 more minutes because
Yes, sir, please.
something I actually recalling, because we are doing the invariance analysis in the in only PLS. In the MOS software, the invariance concept is slightly different. So I would like to show you one website that is James Jeskin. That is a additional information on the invariance. And actually, I covered that in MOS workshops. If you go for the stats software, this is a website made by Jeskinson. James Jeskin make this website. And here, if you go for the invariance test, let me see. Invariance. So you can see this invariance. So in MOS, but actually in case of MOS, so he divided the measurement in model invariance in 3 categories: configural invariance, metric invariance, and scalar invariance. We are having some other things, right? So I suggest to read only all the things I already in my session with respect to the PLS software, but you should read. So there are 2 video tutorials for this measurement invariance, where they are comparing the parameters. Means there are measurement. There are 2 videos for this. The measurement in 3 categories: configural, and the scale. Just read on that, but this is only MOS. So like you are comparing the male and female and like this. So first of all, this is called configural, means when you compare the measurement model with the observed groups like male and female, like age group and all, this is called configural. And the second case, they are comparing the goodness of it. They are doing it with the help of chi-square test, but in a PLS we don't have the chi-square test. So this is comparing the model fitness with respect to chi-square test. And third, let me read it. If we pass metric invariance, we need to assert scalar invariance. This can be done as shown in video. Okay. So this I don't know. I'm not aware about this. I think they are testing on intercept and structural covariances instead of measurement weights. So these are the 3 kind of invariances mentioned by Professor Jeskin in their website. But we are having more invariance in PLS. In PLS, we are very strong in measuring the invariance. But if you want to read more, you can read this. And 2 thing more. I'm just showing you 2 more papers written by Professor Bacon and Ringel. I'm showing you that. Smart PLS. Yeah. So one is the FIMIX, which I already explained you. This is the identifying and treating unobserved heterogeneity with FIMIX. So this is paper 1. And another paper, this paper I will discuss in the second session. Yeah. This paper is called Discovering Unobserved Heterogeneity in Structural Equation Model to Assert Threats. So these two papers, I suggest you to read if you the invariance with respect to groups. Invariance with the observed group is very easy, I'm telling you, because if you want to limit my lecture to the observed groups, it takes only 15 minutes to prove. But that's why I included the unobserved group invariance also in my session. And these two papers are the benchmark papers for understanding the concept of invariance with respect to unobserved groups. Okay, any other query is most welcome.
Sir, in case if we are doing a CFA for a scale validation for an individual scale, would it be appropriate to use measurement invariance in that case?
Yes, definitely. Because you have to prove that the scale which I am developing is same for all the groups.
Okay. And would the process differ in that case? Because here we have taken a structural equation model with multiple variables.
Yes, in that case, you have to prove the configural invariance and the metric invariance.
And that can be done on MOS.
Yeah. But you can also do it in PLS. PLS is very, very sound software in case of these invariance and all these tests. In MOS, we don't have any model to figure out the unobserved heterogeneity and all other things. So PLS is very strong as compared to MOS for testing the invariance test.
Sir, in PLS, how can we do it for a single scale? Suppose I just want to measure one scale without using any other scale.
In the single, whatever I did today is on single scale. There are 5 constructs in the scale. So assume that there are 5 constructs in the scale. So you can repeat the same process of measuring the invariance.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think participants has already asked the questions which they can. So can we conclude the session, sir, if you will permit me?
Yeah, that is your choice. If you have any query, if any participant have any query related to any topic, I can answer. And if you don't want to utilize that facility, then conclude.
Participants, if you have any query with any of your paper, any of the topic, anything which you are where you are working with, you can ask, and sir is ready to give a reply on that. We will wait for 1 minute for your queries,
Yeah.
else we will go.
So I deal with almost every kind of data: panel data, time series data, cross-section data, bibliographic, meta review, systematic review, anything. Data science, R, any technique, machine learning, any software. So I think they are not.
I think they are already, they're not make up their mind to ask the question actually. They may be the questions. So as per your advice, we have taken Priya ma'am as for the ANN session, and she has agreed for that. Thanks for your cooperation for that. Actually, sir is also the mentor for us. He is regularly, updating us about what next we can do better for the research, and his organization is very well contributed a lot for the research. The new thing which we can discuss with sir, that is much more better for us. So thanks a lot for your contribution as always, and we will meet with you at 2 p.m. Today is 2:30 p.m. Sorry, 2:30 p.m. Sharp. So, participant, please log in with this session only. We will start the next session from 11:15. Please take a rest. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Participants, we have mailed you the data for second session too. Please download it from there. Dr. Jamshed has I think he has put that data on the WhatsApp also. So if you are comfortable in downloading it from there, you can download it from WhatsApp too. Please, the feedback form is, say, in the chat box. You can fill the feedback form. Yeah, I hope you all have downloaded the PLS software too. We have shared that link of that with all of you. Please download the PLS software and have the data. And then I think in the next session, Dr. A.K. Chauhan will also be just sharing data, and then we'll be just running those things and this thing. So we'll just meet at 11:15.